Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Life Guides Connect Wednesday, one of my favorite Wednesdays of the month. And Wednesday, historically, you all don't know this. I don't think I've ever said this, but Wednesday is one of my favorite days of the week, just because it's just a good day. But also because of Motivational Monday, you all have made Monday one of my favorite days of the week, which, is not the typical thing. So I'm actually curious. Which day of the week is your favorite? Now I'm just like asking random questions because I'm so curious. And maybe you say that it's Monday because of Motivational Monday, and I would not be opposed to hearing that. But you will see that I have a beautiful face with me. This is Candice. She'll get a proper introduction as we continue on and start the conversation. But I have some events to tell you about, and I've got some things to share with you before we really pop her into the conversation. So, no one in the chat has a favorite day of the week. Interesting. One thing that you'll find out about me, and probably Candice too, we thrive on feedback. Like, I'm the type of person, if there's energy, you'll get energy. If you want more, you'll get more. You just got to give a little and you'll get a lot. I will tell you that. So with that being said, Wednesday as well. Friday is my favorite day, but Motivational Monday is a great way to start the week. I feel you on Fridays. Now that I'm back in corporate, I feel you. Saturday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, fun day. Fridays and Saturdays and leg day. Yes, girl, today's leg day. After this, oh, it's going to be so good. And this is perfect because today's topic is about physical well-being. So, first of all, I think the first question and the first topic to address is that is what is Life Guides, right? Because a lot of you, all of you that are here, you have an organization that has essentially paid for you to utilize our Life Guide services for free, where you have access to a guide and, well, I mean, as many guides as you would like and as many calls as you would like to help you navigate your life. And the bigger difference, some people look at Life Guides potentially as something that you use when you're going through a hard time. Really, only about 25% of people are using Life Guides reactively, which is where, like, oh crap, something's happening in my life. I need a little bit of help because I can't get through this alone. Most of us are utilizing Life Guides as proactive, right? So we're like, okay, cool. I want to get my finances right. I want to get better at interviewing. I want to start my own business. I want to learn what it's like to have a side hustle. I'm realizing that maybe I have a little bit of childhood trauma that I didn't deal with, but it's not like you're going through this big dark night of the soul. You're just like, yo, I got some things to work on. And one thing I'll say is that if you look back at your life and drop 111 in the chat if this is you, if you look back on your life 6 months ago or 12 months ago, or maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago, and everything is exactly the same, drop 111 in the chat. Because it is real that sometimes life happens around us and we don't have the time or the ability to get to the places that we want to go. And we know that we want to, but we're working, we're taking care of the dogs, and we're doing all the things. And there's a lot of competing priorities. So having a guide and having someone who can help you manage your life and get you on track, and they've got the roadmap and they tell you where to turn and which step to make because they've been through a similar journey as you have. That is the juiciest part of the journey. So with that, I've had guides for relationships. I have a guide that I've worked with on a weekly basis for like 9 months working on my finances. I'm almost completely debt free, which is wild. I've got multiple bank accounts. I can transfer large amounts from one place to another. That was never the case. And it's because I got a guide. I wasn't in like a crazy desolate situation, but I was like, you know what? I'm an adult. It's maybe time for me to learn all of these things that I didn't learn in school. And it's been a really cool process. So that's what Life Guides is. That's how to utilize Life Guides. Sounds like all of you have grown a lot in the past 6 to 12 months, which is beautiful. So drop 222 in the chat if you are an entirely different person than you were 6 months ago or maybe 12 months ago. And maybe you're not, and maybe that's more of like an internal journey. Or maybe you've been like working out and your physical body's different. Or maybe you've been navigating healthier relationships. Or maybe you've been listening to me babble on for months and you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm making a little bit of change, which is what I would love to hear. So with that, Life Guides is doing a lot of events, which means you see my face and usually a lovely guide's face alongside me. And we have our Rooted in Wellbeing series. This is our first episode of the season. And today so all of April is physical well-being. So you have the second Wednesday of the month, AKA today, where we have our Connect session. The third Wednesday of the month, you have a live coaching session with me and Candice next week, where we're going to help you actually dial in on your physical well-being goals and take actionable steps. And we're going to, if you're like, this is my barrier, this is my challenge, we'll help you in real time navigate through that. So I'm going to send the link for that in the chat right now. And then we also every Monday have our motivational Mondays, which again, our motivational Mondays follow along the same topic of the month. So it's physical well-being this month, mental well-being in May, and emotional well-being in June. So this week's Motivational Monday was all about sexuality as the missing link to well-being, which is so cool. Such a different conversation with one of our guides who is all about that. I am too, but she's just like, oh, she is top tier. All of our guides are top tier. Next week we have Aaron, which you guys haven't met him yet on our platforms. He's going to be talking about the secrets of manifestation through fitness. We've got Candice coming up in May and June. We've got a lot of great things happening. So with that, and I'll drop in the Motivational Monday link so you can register for the sessions. Even if you don't know if you can make it to the sessions, register for them. Sometimes I send special emails to just people who have registered. Sometimes there are extra resources. Sometimes maybe you realize I can pop on, maybe even if it's just for 10 minutes to get a little bit of energy and keep my day going. So with that, I am so excited to have you all here. Drop 333 in the chat if this is your first LifeGuides event. I'm curious. Wow, get it, Ty. I love that. Congratulations. Welcome. We got Tamara here for the first time. Oh, this is good. Okay, and drop 444 in the chat if you're like, no, girl, I've been coming. I've been listening. I've been putting in the work. Yay, Brandy's back. I see your name all the time. We've got Candice and Kirsten. This is so good. We got a little community forming, which is why I love the live mentorship sessions that we do next week, because we actually get to see each other's faces and talk and have a real conversation. And that's so good. As much as I love talking to a random screen, it's so much better talking to real people. So with that being said, this is our first episode of our Rooted in Wellbeing series, and we're going to take a couple of minutes to get a gauge on where you're at in your well-being right now. The reason why we do that is because for me, it's incredibly helpful to see the tangible results and how much we grow. And I want you to see that too. So when you're filling out this survey, you can even like take a little screenshot of your answers and then go back and look at it 3 months from now when we do our end of series survey and really get a pulse on how much you've grown, because you all have heard me. I believe in 0.3% growth daily. I do not believe in 0 to 100 real quick. That's how you'll burn out. It is not sustainable. But if you grow 0.3% every day, by the end of the year, you've grown over 100%. You're a new person. And you've put in that work, and it doesn't have to be like, not every day is going to be this crazy, I'm doing everything journey. Some days you had this high expectation of yourself and you're like, dang, the one thing that I can do for my well-being today is chill out and realize that there's another day tomorrow and another day after that, and that's good enough. And we'll be talking about that during today's episode. So I'm going to pop the survey up now. That should be on your screen now. And we're asking questions such as, how would you rate your current physical well-being? How would you rate your mental well-being? How would you rate your mental well-being? And how would you rate your current physical well-being? And again, like, the more real you are with these surveys, the more that we get to see the actual growth and the actual change. I know that I used to have a lot of shame about where I was, and I would actually like put myself in a higher place filling out a survey than I actually was because I didn't want to admit it. But in reality, there's the greatest thing you can do is acknowledge where you're at, because then we can help you get to where you're supposed to go. And there's questions that say, which of the following do you currently prioritize regularly? Ooh, the answers are coming in. Check you all out. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to prioritizing well-being? What are you hoping to gain from the Rooted in Well-Being series? This is also really helpful because we can use this for Motivational Monday. We can use this for our next Connect sessions, even our mentorship questions. And then which area of well-being do you feel the most disconnected from? And some of you may already be on a really cool well-being journey. Some of you may just be coming into your space now of realizing that well-being is really important. There are a lot of generations that did not have well-being built in. Even in my generation, I'm technically a millennial. I've had to learn this through time. It wasn't just a default in my world. So hopefully these questions give you something a little bit to think about, something to dive into. And just so you know, the definition of well-being, I have it. The definition of well-being is defined as a state of being comfortable, happy, or healthy. And the reason why we put together this Rooted in Well-Being series is because we believe that it's a basic human right to exist in a state of physical, mental, and emotional well-being as often as possible. Of course, life happens. We're not able to control what happens around us, but we can always fall back on our well-being practices to support us in all phases of life. So our goal is to help you prioritize your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And instead of having those typical conversations that we hear around well-being, we'll be delving into discussions regarding the deeper and more unique ways to prioritize your well-being, because it is so much more than just working out. It is so much more than just eating a salad. There are a lot of myths in so many ways around well-being. So I'm going to give us maybe another minute or so, and I'll continue talking as that's happening. But yeah, we're here to help you restore your energy. We're here to help you bring your physical well-being back. And I feel like there's so many places that we can do that, and there's so many opportunities for us to continue to grow in this way. So, oh, I love this. For well-being, a client told me these are the days she considered. Happy Sunday. I love that. Mellow Monday. Minimal effort Tuesday. Wellness Wednesday. F this Tuesday. Then TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Sleeping Saturday. She said that calendar helped her get through. I love that. Cool. Well, we have maybe like 15 more seconds, and then I'm going to close out the survey. If you didn't get a chance to fill it out, it is perfectly fine. You can reflect on it. If you ever like needed the questions and needed more time and support, I could always send them your way too. So there's no stress, no pressure. I just want to make sure that we get the ball a moving because we have a juicy conversation happening, and I'm excited to watch us all grow over this time. So we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll here. Thank you all so much for filling it out. Beautiful. So a lot of us are prioritizing our well-being on a regular basis. That's amazing. Well, our physical well-being, our mental well-being, we're a little bit more in the middle, and then the emotional well-being, we're a little bit lower, which is what I would expect just based on the current trends in the world. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay. This is fantastic. We have an equal ratio of which area of well-being we feel most disconnected from between physical, mental, and emotional. So with that, I feel like this is a great place for us to get started. So now I can officially introduce Candice, this beautiful face that you've seen, like giggling and nodding along with me for this entire conversation so far for the past 14 minutes. And now she gets to have a real face and a real voice and become a real person in this conversation. So Candice is known as Coach. Is it Coach C or Coach Si? Coach C. Okay, just don't call her
Yes.
Candy.
Please don't call me Candy. Oh no, 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 no.
She's a devoted wife, dog mom, and purpose-driven entrepreneur. After nearly 8 years as a medical coder, emotional burnout led her to take a leap of faith, and she founded her own wellness enterprise. Diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2015, with additional diagnoses in 2020, Candice embraced intensive therapy in 2023 and now proudly advocates for healing. Perfect for this conversation. She's an NASM certified personal trainer. Girl, this woman, are you kidding me? She's an NASM certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, behavior change specialist. She's currently pursuing a kinesiology degree at ASU with plans for a doctorate in sports psychology. I mean, tell me there's not someone better for this conversation. Hello. Guided by faith, she's on a mission to heal the world, one beautiful soul at a time, and actively advocates for people of color to reclaim their health, restore their minds, and rise in their own power. Welcome, Candice. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you. So basically, in other words, my synopsis was I'm an overachiever. I've been told that a lot. I don't care. I want to do everything because I know I can. So, but yes, thank you for having me so much. I'm so honored to be a part of this episode one and instill whatever, knowledge I have and whatever opinions, because I'm very opinionated, I have and share some, hopefully, some growth and seeds with you all. So, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's such an honor to have you here. I mean, you already know I'm like one of your biggest fans. So the fact that I get
Yeah.
to highlight you and have an amazing conversation with you that everyone gets to hear is so good for me and it's so good for everyone else. But like I really love it. So I before we dive in, you and I have a lot to talk about. I would love to just know kind of what your journey has looked like. I know I shared a little bit in your bio, but what did your life look like before prioritizing your well-being? And what was the catalyzing moment that led you to where you're at now?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna try not to cuss either, but it was a hot A asterisk asterisk mess. Um, it was crazy. I was on that ratchet behavior because I didn't have my priorities right. So I feel like for me, I was very wayward. I think one of the things about prioritizing your well-being is it gives you clarity. And
Mm,
so by prioritizing the pillars of wellness that are unique to me, I had clarity that okay, I'm working out a lot now because an ex told me I couldn't get fit. So like I said, I'm an overachiever. So when he said it, I did it. And so I worked on my well-being, and when I did that, I realized like I'm worth more than this ex that trashed me, and I'm worth more than settling for subpar goals and subpar aspirations. I'm worth more than following the path of generations before me. I'm worth more than a lot of things that I thought before I prioritized my well-being. I'm more than we are worthy. Yes. And so for me, what it looked like before was not prioritizing myself and thinking that I had to settle in my lack of wellness, settle in my lack of relationships and bad choices I was making, settle in being subpar in my career and my education. So prioritizing my well-being opened my mind up because, physical activity also lends to mental clarity. And we'll talk about that more later. But it opened me up to realize other things outside of I'm just getting fit. And so the catalyzing moment for me was really when I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder in 2015. So I had been working out and losing weight. And but I was eating like a bird. I was not eating the way I was supposed to eat. So I was going the extreme route of trying to get fit. So I was doing what they called a military diet, which my military husband told me we don't do that in the military. We actually eat a lot. And so I was like, you know what? I don't have to eat like a bird to lose the weight and to get to where I want to be. And because I was not eating, I was in a caloric deficit that was horrible. So I almost passed out, went to the ER, generalized anxiety disorder. And what clicked for me was fitness helps my mental health, but I'm not getting fit the right way. And so I'm sacrificing myself in order to get fit without realizing it's affecting my mental health. How do I balance those? How do I get to where I want to be physically while still maintaining my sanity and not feeling like I have to do these trends or these extreme diets? And so when I was diagnosed, a light clicked on and I was like, okay, I have to move differently. I don't have to do what people tell me to do or what trends say to do. I need to do what works for me. And so where I'm at now is just that. That's what my model of business and my passions are built off of, is knowing that every person is unique. So just like me, I'm not the person that can eat 800 calories a day and feel fine afterwards. I have to eat what I need. I'm also diagnosed with PCOS. So that lifestyle looks different for me than a woman who's not. So where I'm at now is knowing that fitness is relative, it's subjective, it's very standardized, and it's not for everyone. being well is not a cookie cutter sentiment. Being well is unique to you as an individual. And so I apply those principles to everyone I meet, every client I have. And just my business model. It's made for people to come to me and tell me what they need, and me shape them around what they need, rather than me having this idea of what they need when I first meet them. So that's where I'm at now. And that's ultimately my passion for all of my business endeavors.
Oh, I love it. Hearing you speak is like magic to my ears because
Thank you.
a- anyone who has been on any session with me, you know that I'm a huge advocate for your body, your journey. It is not going to look the same, even if you have different blood types, if you're a male, if you're a female, if you've got different diagnoses, different disorders. If you're more of a sensitive creature, I'm not necessarily a sensitive creature. I can just go ham. But also I can only do that because I know how to support myself in that way.
Yeah.
And, I've been on my ratchet behavior too, and I've come out of that journey. And there's a difference to well-being as well, in the ways of there's and this goes for all levels of well-being, but I think for all levels of life. There are people who look well, and there are people
Oh
who
my
are
gosh.
there are people
Thank
who look
you.
wealthy. There are people who are wealthy, and it's very, very, very different. And your well-being will translate into your wealthiness and the whole entire thing. But it's there are a lot of people putting on an image who are struggling, and
Yes.
a lot of that comes from following, yeah, like the cookie cutter recipe. And it's interesting because I even had my best friend. He's a dude. He was telling
Mhm.
me, like, all you have to do is be in a caloric deficit to lose weight in your body. And I'm like, not for women, and maybe for men. I can't speak on behalf of men. I'm not a man. I could never. But for women, it's so different. If you're going through emotional things, or if your cycle is crazy, or if you're not
Yeah.
getting the right protein intake, whatever, there's so much. And we'll dive deeper into all of those topics as the conversation goes on. But also, one thing that's really important to me is that physical well-being is more than physical exercise. So we
Mhm.
will be talking about fitness, we will be talking about working out your body, but people are really disconnected from their bodies. And I say that in the way of your physical well-being is what you're putting into your body as well. Um, Being in a full caloric deficit, being fasted for most of your day is not the greatest. There's a fine line and there's a balance as well. But even with that, there are some people who have that mindset of like, oh, if I want to lose weight, I'm just going to starve myself. But your body actually goes into fat storing when you are in a caloric deficit for a significant amount of time. And your body will think that you're in harm and that you're about to be in winter season and you're not going to have access to resources. So it's things like that where the mind has these ideas, but if we actually listen to our body, eat when you're hungry, right? And maybe prioritize, if you don't have the greatest diet currently, maybe you prioritize shifting one meal a day instead of wanting to go all the way in and change everything. But people are really disconnected from their bodies when they don't realize what they put in their bodies is necessarily fueling their whole entire life. It's fueling your emotional well-being. It's fueling your mental well-being. So we live in a world, unfortunately, in America, even in just beauty products and health products, whether you're a male or a female, your shampoo, your conditioner, all of those things in Europe, they have over 2 to 3 thousand chemicals that are banned from every single one of their products because of how concerning it is for their physical health that we don't have banned in America. And it just because things are available to you and just because things are common and normal doesn't mean that they're necessarily right. So starting to ask yourself, okay, what are the things that are more natural? For me, I live more of a holistic, natural-based life. I don't even wear makeup. I use like the most clean oils. I just got back from the farmer's market and I literally met the woman who is the living embodiment of me in like 40 years from now, who has like
Mhm.
done all the work and met the coolest people and done all the things. And she has a skincare line. And I'm like, perfect. I want it all. But that's because that's what I prioritize, right? I prioritize what I put in my body because for me, one of my values in life is health. And the reason why is because I want to I and you for anyone who's been on a session with me, you know this. I watched my grandmother deteriorate from Alzheimer's. The last thing I ever want to do is put anything in my body that could continue to catalyze an Alzheimer reality for me. So I do as much as I can to counteract that. Because when you start studying epigenetics, which is the study of how your genetic expression changes based on the moves that you make on a daily basis, your environment, the conversations that you're having, the way that you're thinking, most of our genetic expression is very malleable. So yes, we
Mhm.
are predisposed to certain conditions, but that doesn't have to be your hard concrete reality. You can find ways to transform your reality. And it does. It looks like starting to question, what are the normalized things and are they actually good for me? And if you're nerdy like me, maybe you start looking up scientific documents of some of the chemicals that are in your products, or maybe you learn that cooking with aluminum foil gives you a higher percent, like aluminum in and of itself gives you a higher percentage for developing Alzheimer's. And none of this is to say that yeah, none of this is to say don't cook with aluminum foil or don't use your products, but this is to plant a seed. For some of you, there are seeds in this conversation that will sprout and that will be instantly, like, you'll be gung-ho and so stoked. And there are others of you where the seed might sprout years from now or never, and that's perfectly fine. The way that I live my life is not how you need to live your life. The way that Candice lives her life is not the way that you need to live your life. It's based on your values, your priorities, and what you want to see for your life, and then you get to start making changes. But even with physical movement as well, like finding that balance between strengthening and stretching,
Yeah.
allowing your body to find all of that balance, because right now I'm in my strength training phase, but I was a yoga instructor, still am a yoga instructor for so many years. And when I was just stretching, all of my teachers said, you need to do strength training because you're hyper flexible. And this translated into my mental and emotional world too. I was hyper flexible in every area of my life. I didn't have boundaries. I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make everyone else happy. I was hyper extending myself in my reality, doing too much for others and not taking care of myself. Now that I'm in my strength training journey, I'm more foundationally balanced and strengthened at the core of who I am. I have boundaries. I have expectations. I can have clear conversations. And it's not just one layer of your life that you're working on when you're prioritizing well-being. It does all have that woven in balance. And there are natural remedies and solutions to everything that you do. I had a conversation with Candice where she was like, yeah, I've done all of the natural remedies and I've had to look at alternate solutions. And that's true too. You have to find what works for you. I could never tell you. But there are options out there. So with that, yeah, that I think that's a perfect place to transition to your part of the conversation, Candice.
Honestly, that was dope, like, what you said. What you said about epigenetics, I translated for lay people who aren't as and academically sound as you, okay? Breaking generational curses, questioning
Yes.
things in the past lineage of you, and making sure they align with who you are now. As a woman of color, as a Black woman, I know that our culture loves indulgence in soul food, right? I want it to be food for the soul, but I don't want it to have the same effect it's had for the past several generations. I want it to extend our longevity rather than hindering that. As Black and Brown people, we are actually supposed to exemplify longevity in our innate cultural diets, but because of Western culture, we don't do that. We need to start questioning where things came from, how to blend your culture and optimize it for your well-being as well. So taking the two, what you appreciate about culture, but also optimizing that and making it better for yourself and for future generations because you want to continue a positive cycle, not a negative one. So you talked about Alzheimer's and things like that. And so what feeds your brain? The omegas and the things like that, incorporating more of those, even activities, Sudoku, stuff like that. We Our previous generations weren't taught mental health and things like that, and so Alzheimer's probably was a higher propensity because we weren't taught about having to stave off those things through activity and nutrition and physical activity. So I love what you said about epigenetics, and I think another part of that is rest. A lot of people, no matter your culture, your background, especially Western culture, because in Italy they have what I believe is from what I remember is called siestas, where
It
they
is.
purposely take yeah Italian, you part Italian, right? Yeah, so
I am, yeah.
know, like and it's embedded in the DNA of Italian and other cultures. Western culture says work yourself into the ground and then you've earned it. No, rest is not a dessert you get after a hardworking meal. Rest is a thing you give yourself to keep going. So for me to get nerdy for a second, I will tell you that when it comes to working out, you actually have to start with rest in order to fuel your workout. So you cannot go, and I'm sure some of y'all have tried to go, okay, raise your hand if you've ever done a workout drunk, like hungover, or if you've ever done a workout half sleep. Those don't work. And you know that. You know you didn't give your all. You didn't go hashtag beast mode, right? You went hashtag half ASS mode. So for rest, it's very important that you let that be the precursor to everything else. You shouldn't go to work like a zombie, right? You want to feel refreshed when you go to work. So rest is not earned, it's innately required. And I think modern Western culture has so gotten away from this idea of rest. It's grind culture, hustle culture, beast mode culture. Man, let it be rest culture because rest fuels you. In exercise, in between each set, you need a supplement that your body produces called ATP. In order to get ATP to get through your next set, you have to rest. That's what resting periods are. If you want to have like super SpongeBob buff muscle pants muscles, you need the rest required to get those muscles. So you can't grow your gains, whether it's physical or mental, by constantly running on E. You wouldn't let your car run on E. How you gonna get from A to B without filling it up? So filling yourself up looks like rest, and I love that we've spoken to that. But another thing about rest is this myth of being too tired. So I work with, it's such a common sentiment, and I give so much grace to people who are too tired to prioritize themselves after work or after work running with around with their kids or running their business. But it is a myth of being too tired. So rest and being too tired are different. Rest is something you give yourself to fuel yourself. The idea of being too tired is a myth you tell yourself because you're actually not prioritizing what you want. So if you spent a long day at work, running your business, working with the kids, doing whatever, and then you come home like, I'm too tired to work out or I'm too tired to meal prep. It's not that you're too tired because if you had the energy to do, my mama always told me when I was growing up, if you got energy to go to the club, you got energy to go to church with me tomorrow on Sunday. So, in the same vein, you have the energy, you just need to prioritize it. So, a lot of us come home and we spend an hour responding to texts or we spend 2 hours scrolling on IG, right? Or we spend 5 hours binging on YouTube. That is energy. It takes energy to keep your eyes open. It takes energy for your thumbs to tap. It takes energy to scroll and consume mindless, non-substantial, trendy, non-scientifically backed, information. So what I want people to come away with is being too tired is a myth. And my point that I always embed in my clients is you better be too tired for yourself rather than that job because that job only sees you as so much. You better be too tired by the end of the day for yourself, meaning you worked yourself out or you did something for yourself that you feel positively exhausted from. Make sure that by the end of your day, you tired yourself out from the priorities you set for yourself. So being too tired should always end with having made yourself a priority. Them other people can wait. Them texts can wait. Them emails can wait. Because especially if you're responding to emails from work, they can wait till you clock back in. You shouldn't be responding to no emails when you're not clocked in. But my point, and I'm going on a soapbox, but my point is that I don't want people to think that they're too tired for themselves. You're actually just too tired from not prioritizing yourself. You should be the one that gives yourself grace. And so what that means is learning your optimal energy windows to make time for yourself. So if that means that you might have to get up a little earlier to meal prep, or if you might have to get up a little earlier or stay up a little later to do your workouts, make sure that everything else waits and you come first. Don't put yourself last. Put yourself first. There are urgent things that you have to attend to, such as work and all that good stuff, but make sure that the next in line is you as a priority. So learn your optimal energy windows. We all have that midday hump, right? How many of y'all are familiar with the midday hump, like the 3 p.m.? Yeah, that right there is crazy, right? But what you need to know is before that hump sets in, are you more or less productive? Because some of us are actually more productive after the hump. So after the hump, I need a little bit of my energy restored, and then I'm more of a night owl, so I'm more productive at night. But for some of y'all, after that hump, it's a wrap. I'm not doing nothing. I don't feel like doing nothing. Don't talk to me. Don't text me. Nothing. You guys should learn your optimal energy windows because those dictate how much you can prioritize yourself for working out, for meal prepping, for spending time with yourself, journaling, meditating, going on a walk, playing with your dogs, whatever that looks like for you. Start to learn yourself. And this series is about honoring your body pretty much and honoring yourself. Learn how to honor yourself by paying attention to yourself and understanding what that looks like for you as well. So that was my soapbox for this first part of our conversation, but I'm gonna keep going when the time presents itself. So yes.
Absolutely. Oh, and also a new thing that we're doing is we are having a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions where you're like, "Ooh, I would love to hear Candace's feedback about this, this, and this," you'll actually be able to ask them at the end and drop them in the chat and we'll be able to answer. So there will be time for that, which is so exciting. One of you suggested that in our surveys and I was like, "You know what? You're right. When you're right, you're right." So with that, um yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say before I go into a little bit more of the conversation of listening to yourself and your body
Mhm.
is that if you like the way that Candice is speaking, and if you're like, okay, I need someone who's gonna be on me a little bit and who's gonna make sure that I don't slack on myself, Candice is a great person. And I'll drop her LifeGuides link now. Let me see. So that you can see, you can read her profile, you can drop in if you're like, ooh, I would love to be mentored by her. You've got the ability to do so. You don't just have these live events, you got the whole thing. You got all LifeGuides. So
Yes.
with that, at the end of her part of her conversation, it was like, listen to yourself, listen to your body, right? So when
Yes.
it comes to your fitness journey, I feel like a lot of people look at their fitness journey and they just think that maybe it's only working out and it's only strength training and it's only lifting weights. For some people, that doesn't work. For me, right now I'm in Florida enjoying the sunshine, but for me, I normally live in the middle of the mountains on a lake in North Carolina, unincorporated community. Like there's not really anything going on. And the place that I work out, it's all older women because that's most of the community. And they can't do what I do. And their workouts are catered to them. They do a lighter weight. They can't jump. There are some of them who just their bodies and their joints need a little bit of extra care. And one of the things that we do in our classes is we have all of those modifications and we make it normal to prioritize your journey and to prioritize what it looks like for you. Because just because I can do something, I'm 29, I'm not married, I don't have kids, I'm just vibing like 28 20 25 8, like more than 24/7. I'm just steady vibing all the time, but that's me. There are other people who live wildly different lives, but it's beyond that. There are so many ways to focus on your physical well-being in regards to getting exercise and getting movement and having that physicality in your life. You can do Pilates, you can do yoga, you could do mat Pilates, you could do gentle yoga. I work really well. I was liking going to the gym, but I work really well with a trainer. I have a trainer. I have to show up at a very specific time. That works for me and it creates I'm not a deeply foundational structured person. However, that's like one of my greatest lessons in this lifetime is to learn how to do that. So going to an actual trainer at a specific time 4 to 5 days a week structures my whole entire work week. My morning is really specific because it sets up my whole entire day, very similar to what Candace was talking about. It structures my whole entire day. When last week my lady was out on Monday and Tuesday, the beginning of my week was so sideways. And I was like, it's just a reminder, like I need to show up. I need to stick with a routine because I found what works for me and it lights me up. But there have also been times in my journey where I have done what I thought I needed to do, but my body didn't want to do it. And I didn't stick with a routine and I didn't stick with a workout because I thought that I wanted it and I thought that that was what was meant for me. And I continued pushing it and hustling it and whatever. But in reality, it wasn't what was right for me at that time necessarily. And the same thing happens to me even with books. Drop 444 in the chat if you have like 7 books that you're in the middle of. If
I'm
you're
gonna
like
just
that,
say 444.
I used to be like that. Now I'm like, if a book doesn't capture me, it's just going back on my bookshelf. Maybe it's a different time. Maybe it's just not the season for it. And it's the same thing with your physical workouts. If you're not jazzed about it, if you're not lit up about it, then maybe it's not the right thing for you right now. And instead of shaming yourself about like not having a practice and not doing your routine and not showing up, maybe you have fun with it. And maybe, I don't know if you guys know this, there's an app, it's called ClassPass. It works really
Yes,
well if you live in a city.
yes.
ClassPass is like a yoga membership can be anywhere between like 130 to $200 a month, and you're only doing yoga. ClassPass, you get to do drop-in and like drop-in classes at places are anywhere from like 25 to $70 for a single class. That is ridiculously expensive just to drop in. But that's how they validate their monthly prices, the whole thing, marketing, blah, 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 whatever. But ClassPass, you you have like your local area and all of these businesses sign up for ClassPass where you can do a drop into specific classes at specific studios. So you could do a HIIT workout one day, you could do a Pilates workout one day, you could have a trainer one day. You could do only cardio, you could do only CrossFit, whatever, and you can figure out through using ClassPass what actually works, what actually feels good, and you can find new solutions and options that maybe you didn't even know about. Maybe you really hate cardio, but maybe you would love a swimming class. Maybe there's something like that available for you. So there are options for you to play and flow and create something that feels good for you while being able to try things out. So I'll put that in the chat. Class Pass is in the chat.
LastPass is dope. Like, and when you first sign up, they give you like trial credits. So use the free credits and take advantage. I love that you brought that up because I did ClassPass for all types of things I would have never tried. I did pole dancing. That was a workout in and of itself. Respect to those ladies because that is not for the faint of heart. I tried pole dancing twice. I tried Pilates with the reformer. So yeah, ClassPass is a great way to explore what works for you. I love it. Agreed wholeheartedly.
Oh, I love that you've used
Yeah.
it too because it does. It opens your world up a lot. And it's
Mhm.
also classes too. I love a class because I don't have to be a master at something. I've
Yeah.
mastered yoga and like I could go into any room and do anything, but with ClassPass, there are all these different things that I'm new at. When I was going to the gym before I got my trainer, my form was all wrong. I
Yep.
wasn't doing everything, like I wasn't getting the maximum benefit of my workout because I didn't know what I was doing and I wasn't confident in it. So there's a lot of support there. ClassPass is a great tool and resource. But follow that enjoyment, right? Because your physical well-being will suffer if you're forcing yourself. There have been seasons of my life where I've worked out really hard and I've ate all of the right things, but I was going through my own like inner turmoil and I felt like I had to force myself to do things and to show up. And I didn't lose the weight. And the one thing I want to say is like it's not a journey about you losing weight or looking perfect. It really is about feeling good, right? And when you feel good, your body matches. So you don't have to force yourself and you don't have to have like the body dysmorphia and the idea that like you have to be this teeny tiny little thing or a man, like you have to be this huge, big thing. Like do what feels good, your body will match and things will start changing. But for me, I didn't start dropping my weight and I know that when I gain weight personally as a Kira, I am going through something that I haven't released and I haven't surrendered to and I need to let it go, but my body's holding on and my body's protecting me because there's just something that I've gone through. And I had to navigate through that. I had to transform my reality and then my physical body started matching as well. So, with that, I've talked about a few of the myths of well-being, but I know, Candice, that you have a lot more to say regarding all these myths and the way that we think that we're supposed to be versus the way that like we can actually explore and navigate this journey.
Yeah, I think the biggest myth is what you've been speaking on so eloquently is like listening to so you talked about like your mind wanted you to do it but your body was like nah, like we're chilling. And I think that's one of the biggest myths is you have to do it. And we're in Q2 of 2025, and I was saying 96% of people fail. I was trying to give no one grace about the resolutions. It's actually 80%, so it's a little bit more people that follow the resolutions, but I think it's the myth of having to have a resolution, right? For me, I always tell people resolutions are not effective. They're not a fail safe. The myth of a resolution is that you're actually going to complete it. So if you're going to make a resolution, start in September, start in June of the year before, because if you start at January 1st, you're likely to fail because you're not planning. A good idea is just a dream until you write it down. So this myth of having resolutions, if you're not writing it down, if you're not planning, it is just a myth. It's a myth in your mind. It's just the ethereal want that you have that you're not planning for way ahead of time. And that speaks to like you talking about the cookie cutter image of fit, and that's why I preach wellness and not fitness, because it looks good for every person. Earlier you talked about that person may look fit, but are they well? And I always use the athlete Chad Ochocinco, the football player. He is an excellent athlete, top tier, but he eats like trash. He loves McDonald's. I think he owns a couple of franchises because he loves it so much. So is he well, even though he looks like it on the outside? That's for him to say. But my guess is not, probably not entirely like he could be, because of how he might eat most often. And so for the myths of having to be or look like something, Instagram is not your science. TikTok is not your doctor. Those things are trendy. Those things are not scientifically backed. So let's talk about like the cold plunge. The cold plunge is not something that is empirically based. It's not something that everyone has to do to lose weight, because you talked about earlier where if you do something in the cold, your body will hold fat. So think about doing that in a pool of ice. Your body is, or a cold shower, your body goes into shock mode thinking it has to survive, and then it's going to store fat. The best way to lose weight or get to your goals, cold therapy can be for like mental resets and maybe muscle soreness at its best. And that's for athletes. That's why athletes use them. Cryotherapy is for your joints and musculature and stuff like that. But a lot of people talk about this cold shower thing like it's supposed to accelerate fat loss. No, it's not. So debunk myths that you find on social media. Um, Another thing that I want to really touch on is fasted cardio. So again, I'm going to be nerdy, but your body prioritizes fuel. Okay. So a lot of people think if I don't eat before workout, which I hate as a trainer, I will tell you I'm not working out with you if you don't eat. I had a client who would come to me with 3 hours of sleep and not eating breakfast. I said, all right, we're going to work out next time because I'm not doing this. I'm not liable for you passing out, because I did that when I had a trainer. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And she never helped me. She was like, okay, let's just keep going. That was terrible advice. I blacked out. So for fasted cardio, your body runs on fuel, and the primary fuel is not protein. A lot of people think it's protein, and it's not fat. You actually have to spend probably 40 minutes working out before fat starts burning. The number one thing that your body uses is carbs. So if you eat healthy carbs in the morning, such as like light oatmeal or something like that, your body is going to burn those carbs, and then it's going to keep burning after the fact, especially if you incorporate strength training. So fasted cardio is not this huge ideal way of assuming that that's how you're going to lose weight. You burn very little fat through an active workout because carbs is the first priority, and then like blood sugar, all that stuff. Another myth is morning versus nighttime workouts. I hate them. I hate that people make it seem like working out in the morning is the only way. I don't know how your body knows, all right, it's morning time, so we're going to be more efficient. Your body knows it's morning time because it's an evolutionary thing with the circadian rhythm, but it doesn't prioritize you losing more weight in the morning versus at night. The best thing for you to do is work out when you're going to be more committed to it. So if you're going to commit to working out in the morning, make sure you're giving it your all. If you know you're not going to give it your all, work out at night, work out in the afternoon, work out between a break at your job. Stop listening to what people say because they're anecdotal. They're telling you what works for them. And that's why my soapbox that Kira was speaking to, you don't have to look like, what's her name? Summer, what's her name? She like an influencer. She is one of many forms of fitness. I am a curvier trainer. Some people are like, I feel comfortable with you because you don't look like the traditional standardized image of what I feel like I want to look like. go with what feels right for you because it should be inside out. It should feel good for you. It shouldn't just be a goal of a certain BMI because that's standardized, a certain weight. Whatever works for you, that's what will help you achieve. So people failing their resolutions in the beginning and to now, that's because they didn't plan. They had an idea that wasn't realistic and they're not doing something that works for them as X person. You do stuff that works for Kira. I do stuff that works for me. If you deal with hormonal imbalance, you might not be able to follow the same things as a woman who doesn't. It takes us twice as much to work out and lose, insulin resistance that creates fat. So individualize your goals to you. Start researching what it looks like for you and start planning yourself accordingly instead of looking at what other people are doing because you're one of one. Imagine saying you accomplished this because it worked for you rather than feeling like you failed because you tried to strive for what someone else had or what someone else said or what someone else looked like. What an athlete does, they have a different set of access to certain resources than the average person, and that's not a bad thing. It just means you have other access for other things that work for you. So I always preach this. I always make sure that when I talk to my clients, we have an action plan, but it's based on conversation. It's not based on what TikTok said. It's about them as a person, and then we go from there. So really start prioritizing yourself and not these myths that you see online.
Oh, so good. Oh my gosh, I love this conversation. A lot of this Candice and I haven't had deep conversations about, but you all know how I feel about fasted workouts,
Oh
um,
God.
and all the things. Especially as a woman, it's just not. There's a
Yeah.
lot. Also, oh my gosh, I could go on a soapbox, but I'm not going to because this is Q&A time. So if you all have any questions, it can be about like food, it can be about non-toxic products, it can be about cold therapy, saunas, different workouts. What if you have personal questions for us about our journeys? um this is a perfect time to go ahead and ask some questions. Obviously, there's no expectations and no pressure, but like I said at the beginning, we're fueled by you, and your feedback helps us grow. And you never know if the question that you have on your mind is a question that someone else is thinking of, or maybe something that someone didn't think of, and they get to have their aha moment based on your question and what you're thinking and the way that your beautiful little brain works. So yeah, let me see what other notes I have. Okay, cool. I'm gonna drop Candace's profile again. I'm giving you all a moment. I mean, I will make this chat go dead silent and say nothing until someone feels the pressure of asking a question. I don't want to do it, but I will.
There's
And
no such thing as a stupid question, honestly. It's a safe space. So I think knowing that hopefully will help everyone ask. Like, we're here to help and support you guys. There's no such thing as a stupid question. So please ask away.
oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Cool. I'm gonna mute myself too for a minute. Okay, beautiful. So Kirsten asked us the question, how and where do you find your non-toxic products? Such a good question. So it's been a long journey for me. One of the things, I'm trying to think of where I started. So what started this journey for me was I was interviewing for a job. I used to wear makeup. I didn't bring makeup remover wipes. I bought some and I would use them. I used them for about a month until they ran out. And the first time I used them, I felt them burning my eyes. And I didn't stop. I used them for another 30 days. And after those 30 days, my vision, my distance vision wasn't good anymore. And the only thing that changed was feeling my eyes burn every night and not doing something about it because there just wasn't conversations around any of this. I didn't grow up in like holistic community or anything along those lines. So I started looking at holistic brands, but there's also a lot of greenwashing. That this was like 10, 12 years ago where there was a lot less greenwashing, but living a holistic life right now is very trendy. So there are a lot of companies that greenwash, which is where they use colors like green and brown that signify nature, or they say things like natural, which doesn't actually have like an FDA certified definition. So I say all of that to say that it is a little bit of a harder journey. What I love to do, and the easiest way that I think that you would be able to find your holistic products, is I typically don't buy from brands at any store for the most part. And that's just me and my journey. The easiest way for me has been Etsy, where people are making their products, and you can see all of the ingredients are words that I know. If they're long chemical name ingredients, some of them are real, but if they're real, they'll usually have a parentheses that says coconut oil. And if they're synthetic, usually there's no parentheses afterwards. But if you're using Etsy or a farmer's market, you'll see that the ingredients on those products. Yeah, go ahead, Candice.
I was gonna wait till you were done, but I did have a question about that.
Yeah.
Please continue, and then I can ask after you're done.
Okay, you're cute. Yeah, but Etsy or farmers markets, like do I have, I think it's in the other room. I just bought a face serum and a couple of other things at the farmers market. I like knowing where my things are coming from and talking to people who have similar values. And big corporations tend not to match my values. Big American corporations tend not to match my values. So Etsy and farmers markets would be the easiest suggestion that I have for you.
Okay, I have a question on that. So I'm a huge Ulta, like I should have stock in Ulta. I'm always buying from Ulta and Sephora. They get all my money. But what I do is I pay attention to where it says like clean at Sephora or clean at Ulta, and then it lists like the ways in which they are clean, and then they'll give exposure to their ingredients and stuff. Is that a trustworthy method if you do shop at like big retailers like Ulta and Sephora? Is when they say clean, not just relying on that, but knowing like this excludes the 755 things that are banned and da da da. Like, is that a trustworthy method too if you shop at like the big box retailers?
I think it's a great way to start. And I think,
Okay.
everyone's journey is unique. And I think even things like Dr. Dave just dropped in the chat a scientific article that's talking about what it means when a product has fragrance in it. If a
Yeah,
product has
that's a big one.
fragrance in it, it can be anything. Some of them are literally like crazy enough, like beaver anus, like crazy things that give a specific fragrance. Like it is a wild, wild
Beaver
world.
butt?
Oh,
What?
beaver booty. Yep, it's real.
Uh-uh.
But yeah, so you have no idea. So if it says either fragrance or natural fragrance, I typically won't buy it, because even if it says natural fragrance, I'm also like I'm a little lunatic sometimes. I'm like I don't trust it, but watch out for little things like that. Say that a product says that it has like white tea and magnolia in it, but you're looking at the ingredients. The way that ingredient labels on any product are listed is that the ingredient that they have the most of is first, the ingredient that they have the least of is last. So if you're seeing all of these other chemical, and then the last two ingredients are magnolia and white tea, then that's a greenwashed product where they've just wanted to sell you something that sounds good, but it's not actually good. And I've been on my journey for like 10, 12 years. Um, but there's a lot that goes into it. But I think, Candice, even your question of Ulta and Sephora, starting there is a great place. If they have that sign of recognition of, hey, doesn't have so many of what normal things have, start there. It took me a long time to get to where I am. And it's a journey, it's an evolution. I've ebbed and I've flowed with a lot of things, and it's just a part of the process. But that's a great addition to the question.
I love that. And that goes for nutrition too. Like looking at labels, it's the same. That's the way the FDA has made it. You have to disclose everything in order um concentration. And
Yep.
so, if we're speaking about fragrance, Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman, who I love, she actually has a fragrance line called Henry Rose. And she talked about, I was on a Zoom. It was so cool to be on a Zoom with Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, who does that? But she talked about like what fragrance actually means and how she differentiates that in order to make hers actually holistic and actually safe for the skin and all of that, because your skin is an organ and it absorbs stuff. So people think your skin, if you stand in alcohol long enough, your body will absorb it and then the effects of alcohol. So you have to pay attention to labels. So I love that point, and that speaks to nutrition just as much. If it's got a lot of ingredients in nutrition, in a food, you probably should prioritize maybe an alternative food. But I love that you disclosed the label thing because a lot of people don't know that.
There's a lot to it. It's a big, long journey. So it's officially 2 o'clock. We're on the top of the hour, or maybe it's 1 o'clock, or maybe it's 11 o'clock. Who knows where it is where you are? But where I am, it's 2 o'clock. So, with all of that being said, I am dropping our Life Guides link tree, which has all of our registration links for all of our sessions and our recordings for last quarter's session and then the last year's sessions and all the good juiciness that we're doing. So, if you're all hyped up on Life Guides, go get your fill. You got it all there. And the last thing I'll do is I will share Candice's profile one more time. If you really love her and her advice and her wisdom and her energy, and you want to get live mentorship and coaching with her, join us for next week's session, our next live mentoring session, dropping that link here as well. So many links. But also her profile is right in the chat as well. So you can book a call, schedule. Thank you all so much for being here with us. It has been a joy and an honor as per
Thank you
usual.
all. Yes. And I would just like to leave you all with my personal slogan: say no to excuses. So, whatever you do in life, say no to excuses and just say yes to your best. And thank you guys so much for being a part of our call today.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Candice will be on Motivational Monday in May and June, so you'll see your face a bunch. Have a beautiful Wednesday. We will catch you next week and stay well and be well. Bye, everyone.